What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. It's time to continue my 2023 college football schedule preview / projected records of the 2023 college football season. And we continue them with the Mississippi State Bulldogs. There was a schedule last year for Mississippi State. The overall record for this team last year going 9-4 overall in the 2022 season and also 8-4 in the regular season. You look at who they played in the non-conference. They played Memphis here at home, Arizona on the road, Bowling Green at home, and they also played East Tennessee State. So they had two, teams, out of some good conference teams. They played them, Memphis out of the group of five, and then Arizona on the road. But they both won those games there, so that's the good news there. Mississippi State, of course, coming in with a new era this year. You look at who they played out of the SEC East. Let's talk about that first. And they played Kentucky. Of course, they play Kentucky every year. That's one of their cross-division matchups. And then, of course, they played Georgia. That game was obviously not that close. But like I said, a new era for this Mississippi State team now. We know Mike Leach, passed away. That was really heartbreaking. And, Mississippi State's going to have a new era now. We don't know what the coaching staff's going to look like. We know that their head coach coming in, has been a backup, I believe, to Mississippi State for a while. Zach Arnett is going to be the next head coach for Mississippi State. So what's it going to be like for Mississippi State heading into the 2023 season? Let's get right to the schedule now for this Mississippi State team. And here's the schedule for 2023 for the Mississippi State Bulldogs. And you look at who they'll play in the non-conference. They'll play Southeastern LA, then Arizona here on September the 9th. A rematch from last year, and this time they get this one at home. An Arizona team that was pretty decent last year. They could probably make this game pretty close, but we don't know what the roster is going to look like for Arizona just yet. And we're still early in the year of college football of the offseason. Like I said, we don't really know what the rosters are going to look like just yet. And then they'll play Western Michigan here and then also Southern Miss. So not too tough of a non-conference schedule. I mean, Arizona will be their toughest one, but the good news is they get that game at home. And then out of the SEC East, they'll play South Carolina on the road this year. Of course, that's not a matchup that's played every year, but they'll play that one on the road. Spencer Rattler coming back for another year. And then, of course, they'll play Kentucky. They play Kentucky every year, so that will be a home game for them. Obviously a revenge game for Mississippi State. They could have beaten Kentucky last year if Will Levis didn't play. So I think, Mississippi State will be ready for that one on November the 4th. So let's go game by game now. So they'll face Southeastern LA on September the 2nd to kick things off, and then they'll play Arizona here on September the 9th, an interesting non-conference game. Of course, it was at Arizona last year. Now it's this time here at home for Mississippi State. And then they'll play LSU here on September the 16th. Another revenge game here for Mississippi State, of course. This rivalry between LSU and Mississippi State's been close for the last few years, but LSU completely, going to be a really interesting team once again this year. Maybe have a chance to win the SEC West. South Carolina on the road on September the 23rd. That'll be a tough place to play. Obviously, going on the road to face South Carolina is pretty tough to play in the SEC. And then they'll play Alabama here on September the 30th. This will be a home game for them. Definitely probably a winnable game for Mississippi State. And then they'll play Western Michigan after that. Then they'll get a bye week after that game. And they'll head on the road to face Arkansas. And then they'll play Auburn on the road. So you got back-to-back road games here between Arkansas and Auburn. Arkansas definitely, was a team last year that could have been better. They finished, 7-6 last year. So this could be an interesting matchup here on the road at Arkansas. And then they'll play Auburn here on the road. Going to be a tough place to play. So you got really tough back-to-back road games there in the month of October. Of course, back-to-back October games on the road against Arkansas. Auburn, for them, they're going to have a new head coach as well, Hugh Freeze coming in. So we're going to see a lot of brand-new first-year head coaches once again in the SEC like it always has been every single year. And then they'll get to the month of November. They'll play Kentucky here at home. Then they'll play Texas A&M on the road. This will be a tough place to play as well. So they got some tough road games this year, but overall not that too tough of a schedule. And then they'll play Southern Miss, and then they'll play Ole Miss to end things out on November the 23rd. That will be a Thursday night game like it is always every year in the Egg Bowl. So yeah, if you look at this schedule, they got some tough road games. Obviously the Arkansas and Auburn games are tough back-to-backs, but other than that, they have to play their best teams in the SEC West at home. LSU and Alabama. two of the top teams in the West, and they'll get Ole Miss at home, and they'll get Kentucky at home as well. So not too tough of a schedule for Mississippi State. Let's now get into the projected record for this Mississippi State team. And this is the scale I've been pretty much using for these projections. If it's a 1% game, that's going to stay in the red. These are games where Mississippi State has no chance of winning. 20% games in the orange. These are about a couple touchdowns of an underdog for Mississippi State. 40% Mississippi State will be about a touchdown underdog. 50-50 games. These are games where I think they can go either way. So they'll stay in the white. 60% about a touchdown favorite. In the blue, 80%, these are games where Mississippi State's going to be favored by a couple touchdowns. And then the 90% games, these are the best ones. These are games where Mississippi State's going to be favored by more than 3 touchdowns. And that's what we're going to start with. We're going to start with the green games like we always do. And I just got 3 of those on the schedule. It's pretty much, 3 out of their 4 non-conference games. Southeastern LA, Western Michigan, and then Southern Miss. Mississippi State has no business of losing these games. Even if if they were to lose these games, it would just kind of be disappointing. But I really have no big concerns for Mississippi State heading into these cupcake games. I don't really see any problems for them. So I think they should win 3 of those non-conference games in the green. So, and I don't have any blue games here for Mississippi State. I thought about putting some in the blue, but let's go to the games now where Mississippi State will be favored by a touchdown in the purple. And I just got 1 game on that schedule. I got Arizona here at home on September the 9th. This is another game that I probably could have put in the blue. This is another game that I probably could have put in the 50-50 games. But if this was a road game for Mississippi State, I would probably put it in the 50-50 games in the white. But I'm going to stick with it being a home game here for Mississippi State. I think they will have home field advantage. That makes the difference there. So I think Mississippi State will be at least a touchdown favorite. And this is just based off of where the teams were last year. So I'm going to say that Mississippi State will be favored by about a touchdown. We go to the games now where Mississippi State's going to be an underdog in. I don't have any red games or 20% games, but I do have some yellow games at 40%. They're going to be about a touchdown underdog heading into these games. That's almost the majority of their schedule. LSU on the road at South Carolina, Alabama at home, Arkansas and Auburn both on the road, and then Texas A&M here on the road as well. I think all of these games right here, Mississippi State will be an underdog. Now, Auburn probably could have been a 50-50 game. South Carolina could be a 50-50 game. Texas A&M also another 50-50 game. But, from where Mississippi State is heading into 2023, I can't, put these games in the 50-50 games because of where where the new era is coming in. They're going to have a new head coach. Coaching staff going to be a big change there. Of course, they'll miss Mike Leach. If Mike Leach was probably still the head coach, I think Mississippi State will probably be favored in some of these games. But I'm going to stick with them and put it in the yellow. But like I said, it could change by the time. But I think they'll be heavy underdogs in their tough home games against Alabama and LSU. I think those are very winnable games, perhaps. South Carolina is very a winnable game. All these games on the schedule are very winnable. But as of right now, I got them as an underdog in all of these games. So that's a bunch of games there in the yellow. We now go to the games, pretty much, the 50-50 games here. The rest of these 2 games here on the schedule, Kentucky and Ole Miss are both 50-50 games. Kentucky, I thought about putting that one in the purple, but, with Devin Leary coming in and also the transfer portal has been huge for Kentucky. And Kentucky beat Mississippi State last year. I got to put this one in the white. I'm going to stay with it and put it in the white. I think this is a game that can go either way. Usually when Mississippi State and Kentucky play every year, it's always going to be a close game. And then obviously the rival game against Ole Miss, obviously the Egg Bowl. It's a game that can just go either way. It's always a shootout type game. And yeah, Ole Miss and Mississippi State, it's always an interesting rivalry game, and it should be another interesting rivalry game once again this year. And the good news is they'll get that game at home in the Egg Bowl. So how many games do I see Mississippi State winning out of those 2 games on there? Well, both of them are at home, so I at least see them just winning 1 out of those 2 games. Let's say they beat Kentucky at home, then they lose to Ole Miss in the last regular season of the year, and then, of course, they'll lose to Kentucky, or they can probably win against Ole Miss. But you never know. They could probably win both of these games, and they might have a chance to get to a bowl game. You never know. Both of these games are at least at home, so I really see them probably winning 1 out of those 2 games. Let's now get to the projected record here. Like I said, this is not my official prediction. This is simply the projection based on this schedule. If you pretty much, look at the games that they're favored in, also all the yellow games that they're underdogs in, and of course the games that are 50-50 games, the overall projection for this Mississippi State team in 2023 comes out to be 6-6 for 2023. Like I said, it's a new era for Mississippi State. Obviously, a new head coach coming in. You're going to have a little bit of new hopes there, new highs, and pretty much, it's not the same Mike Leach team as we saw last year. But yeah, Mississippi State, I think, will still at least can get to a bowl game. I think they're not going to be doubted. I think, they'll pretty much have a chance to get to a bowl game. I think worst case scenario for this team would be probably 4-8. I mean, the schedule really is kind of tough, but I think the worst case scenario would be 4-8. 5-7 is mid case, and then maybe actually 6-6 is their mid case. 5-7 I think is their worst case scenario, and then obviously 7-5 would be their best case scenario. So yeah, it's a new era for this Mississippi State team. That's why I have them having a big drop off in the projecting list. Like I said, my predictions don't come out till May, so maybe things will change up. But that's my projected record for this Mississippi State team. Let me guys know what you think about this Mississippi State team's projection, and we'll continue to do more projections throughout the rest of this week and also for the weekend. And stay tuned here for more sports content on the Lucas Ross Sports Channel.